Alright, hello guys, how's it going? In today's video we have a ton to talk about. We have this very extreme Christmas Eve storm, although it's actually going to be going on basically from today through the 26th. Now before I get started with this video though, I would ask that you do subscribe if you do weather related content, and also make sure to share this video with your friends, family, and social media. And I'd also highly recommend that you check out our very exciting store in the description and the pinned comment down below, and also our Patreon page where we're actually going to be making a very detailed post about that severe weather threat going on through today, tomorrow. Now for today's comment of the day, I want to know, how do you think this upcoming January is going to go? January of 2021, our first month of 2021. Let me know in the comments down below, and I'll be picking one of those for tomorrow's video. Now let's get right into this video, and first things first, we're taking a look at those warnings, watches, and advisories. As you can see, we actually have an extended amount of blizzard warnings up for North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, Iowa, Minnesota. We have some winter storm warnings surrounding that region. Kind of a surprise snowstorm going on up there, and it is completely associated with this storm that's coming eastward, so it's all kind of one system along that very strong cold front. We've been talking about that for pretty much almost a week at this point. We do have some winter storm watches up for Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York, and then even down through West Virginia, Kentucky, Virginia, and Tennessee there. Even some flood watches there for Pennsylvania, Virginia, Maryland, even up through New York and New Jersey, where we're expecting actually an extended amount of flooding. And then those browns near the coast up there for New England and the Northeast. That's where we have high wind watches. So this is just going to be a mess. We have a lot of major implications coming up, and we're going to talk about all of that throughout this video. Now what we're going to do is we're going to move on, and quickly we're going to talk about the Day 1 categorical severe weather risk, and then the Day 2 severe weather categorical risk, and then we're going to get right into the snowstorm, start talking about those implications. Alright, now here we are taking a look at that Day 1 risk, and this is originally only at a marginal risk. At this point, we do have a slight severe weather risk down there for Louisiana and Mississippi. I might be going live later today talking about some of these thunderstorms with you guys. It depends how late they're going on. I do go to bed quite early, so we're going to see how early those start up, but I might be going live, so be on the lookout for the possibility that I might be doing that. As we head towards Day 2, which is going to be for Christmas Eve and through Christmas Eve night, you can see we have a marginal risk from Florida all the way up through New Jersey, with a slight risk there for South Carolina, North Carolina, and southeastern Virginia. And I'm actually more worried about Day 2 here. I think we have a pretty big tornado and also supercell risk. I'm going to talk about that some more throughout this video and at the end of this video especially. Let's just move on. We're taking a look at that simulated radar. We're finally taking a look at the first portion of that snowstorm, the blizzard one. And as you can see, this is actually by about 8 a.m. this morning, maybe 7 a.m. So really, I mean, this is pretty much as we're speaking. So this is a very imminent threat, that blizzard area. We see South Dakota, Nebraska seeing some heavy snowfall by this point with a 993 millibar low pressure system located right over Iowa. Now what we're going to do is we're going to move on, and we're going to move further through into that system as we're going to see it come to an end pretty quickly. Actually, we're going to take a look at the amount of winds we could see and the total snowfall, take a look at why it's going to be a blizzard, all coming up in just a moment. Now by the time we reach this afternoon, again on the 23rd, that's Wednesday today, basically from the time I'm making this video, and as you can see, this is about 3 p.m. We have that moderate to heavy snowfall going on for Nebraska, South Dakota, Iowa, and Minnesota, especially Minnesota there. Blizzard conditions are likely by this point. Let's just take it to about 1 a.m. starting out Thursday, so this is going to be the very early morning hours on Christmas Eve. And we still see that moderate to heavy snowfall going on for portions of Minnesota, Wisconsin, and the upper peninsula of Michigan there, as this storm is coming to an end for those regions. Here's the total winds, and this is our accumulated maximum wind gusts. So this is basically through this point, which is going to be maybe about 12 p.m. on Christmas Eve. So from now till then, this is the maximum wind gusts you'll be seeing. And we see plenty of those lighter greens and oranges going on for a lot of the regions seeing the snowfall. And that's anywhere from 34 to 58 mile per hour wind gusts. The deeper those oranges are, the closer they are to about 60 mile per hour wind gusts, and that is definitely sufficient for blizzard conditions. So I know exactly why they have those blizzard warnings up, and it's because we have tons of wind and tons of snowfall going on. Here's the total snowfall through that point as well. for kind of the first portion of that snowstorm. If you're anywhere in the grays, you're at a dusting, if anything. If you're anywhere in those blues, you're at about 2 to 6 inches of snow. If you're in those purples and pinks up there from Minnesota, Wisconsin, and the upper peninsula of Michigan, you're at about 6 to 10 inches of snow. I think those brighter pinks there, though, you're probably at about 10 to 15 inches of snow, so there is some isolated regions of that as well. All right, now what we're going to do is we're going to move on and we're going to take a little bit of a look at that day 1 severe weather risk, so down there for the deep south. And then we're just going to move on to snowstorm portion number 2, where we're going to start to see some snowfall for the Appalachian Mountains, all the way as far south as Georgia, Georgia, North Carolina, and Tennessee, and then all the way up to the northeast in the Ohio Valley. We're going to take a look at that, and then finally at the end of this video, we're going to take a look at the flooding risk, the wind risk, that severe weather risk for Christmas Eve, and then our total snowfall map for both of these systems, and that's going to be our hand-drawn map here from Direct Weather. So a lot of content still to come in this video. Now, if you can't tell already, this video is probably going to be quite long, so stay tuned. This is going to be just full of everything you need to know for the next couple of days. I'm talking about multiple topics all in one video because I didn't even know what to choose today. There's so much going on. We got the blizzard, the snow in the east, we got the severe weather on 2 different days, the wind and the flooding risk up there for the northeast. There is all sorts of stuff going on. Let's just talk about that first severe weather risk, which is going to be going on again this evening through tonight. And this is our CAPE. We call this our convective available potential energy. And in a typical severe weather event, you're looking for about 1,000 plus CAPE. And if you're looking at this, you can tell we do not have that for Louisiana and Mississippi, where we're expecting severe weather. Now, we're going to compensate for that with our shear, and you can see we have very high shear with values, just very high values here in our shear. And this is very typical in a winter severe weather event, and usually these lead to a lot of tornadoes, a lot of damaging wind, but not a lot of hail, and that is what I'm expecting for these next 2 days. Here's a look at our simulated radar, and this is going to be by about maybe about 1 or 2 a.m. here on Christmas Eve morning, so Thursday. That's going to be tonight in the middle of the night, and we have some heavier areas of precipitation going on in Mississippi and Louisiana, and I think that is going to be in the form of supercells potentially, so we're going to be watching for that overnight tonight. Now, let's just go ahead and move on towards about, this is maybe the afternoon hour, maybe about noontime here on Thursday, December 24th, so Christmas Eve here. We're starting to see that snowfall from northern Alabama through Tennessee, Kentucky, and Ohio, with heavy rainfall to the east of those regions. Let's just take it to maybe about 8 p.m. here on Christmas Eve night, and there's going to be snow falling from, this is basically the Appalachian Mountains, or maybe just west of it. We see portions of West Virginia, Ohio especially getting some snowfall there. Notice the heavy areas of precipitation there in the Carolinas and Virginia. That's where I'm also expecting supercells on day 2 or tomorrow, so basically Christmas Eve in through Christmas morning. I am expecting supercells for South Carolina, North Carolina, and Virginia to be possible out in front of the cold front. And to make matters even worse, once those supercells move out, we're going to see a strong cold front come through, which could lead to some straight line wind damage and some heavier thunderstorms along that too. So it's kind of going to be a 1-2 punch here on the East Coast coming up. We're going to be watching all of this very, very closely. Now let's just take it to about, I would say this is maybe about like 4 or 5 a.m. here on Christmas morning, so a lot of kids are going to be waking up already by this point. We have heavy snow falling there for portions of Virginia, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, and Ohio. Some ice falling throughout some of those states as well, especially Pennsylvania there and New York. We have still some very heavy rain going on along the East Coast and very strong winds by this point as well. But by the time we reach the very early morning hours on the 26th, we do see some lake effect snow, but for the most part, most of those major implications have moved out. We are going to see, again, that lake effect snow, though, which will be taken into account in our total snowfall map at the end of this video, so stay tuned for that. Now, what we're going to do here is we're going to move on, and we're going to take a look more extensively at that East Coast severe weather threat first off, and then we're going to move on. We're going to take a look at the wind threat, the damaging wind threat there for the Northeast coast, and then also the flooding risk, and then finally our total snowfall map here from Direct Weather for both of these areas of snowfall, all coming up in just a moment. Now here we are taking a look at that simulated radar, a more high resolution one, and this is going to be, I would say, probably by about 12 p.m. there on Christmas Eve. And you can see there is some areas of heavier precipitation going on there for Virginia and North Carolina. Again, that is those supercells this model is trying to pick up on for the Carolinas and Virginia. We can see where the area of very strong straight line thunderstorms is going to be, and that's further west there. It's located pretty much through Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Tennessee, Kentucky by this point. That's going to be moving eastward as well. Let's take a look at that shear, and again, for day 2, this is the same exact hour. We do have that very, very strong shear going on as well for these regions, which is only going to help tornado development if we do see that, unfortunately. Here's that convective available potential energy, also known as our CAPE for short, and as you can see, we actually have quite limited amounts of this CAPE as well, just like we did for the Gulf states the day prior. South Carolina, North Carolina, and Virginia generally under 1,000. There is some 1,000 amounts there for southern North Carolina and potentially the Outer Banks as well, which could help some thunderstorm development, but really this is a low CAPE, high shear type event, and we're looking for wind damage, tornadoes to be possible, hail very unlikely, and some lower precipitation thunderstorms, I would say, compared to what you would typically be expecting in a severe weather event. Let's just take it to about, I would say this is about 8 p.m. on Christmas Eve night, and you can see there's some very heavy thunderstorms going on for eastern North Carolina and eastern Virginia there. That is those supercells still. We do not see that strong line of thunderstorms come through with the cold front until later that night. I'm more worried about the supercells happening that afternoon and early evening compared to what I am worried about with the cold front coming through with the straight line winds, but both are going to cause certain or threaten those areas with certain implications. So we're going to be watching that closely. Now let's take a look at those winds, and this is again the accumulated maximum wind gusts. And as you can see, widespread 60 mile per hour wind gusts expected basically from the Delmarva up through eastern Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York, southern New England, even coastal New England there along the New Hampshire and Maine coast as well. So very widespread damaging wind. And even in those browns for the Jersey Shore, we see Long Island and even southern New York there, even portions of eastern, southeastern Massachusetts there. We expect 70 mile per hour wind gusts to be possible or more. Very damaging winds are expected, and that is one of the more major implications I'm expecting with this extreme Christmas storm. Just a very, very extreme storm we have here on our hands. Here's the total rainfall, and as you can see, anywhere in those yellows, you're expecting an inch or more. In the reds, we're expecting 2 inches or more, and that's pretty much where we're at. So we see 2 to 3 to even 4 inches possible in a lot of those reds, which is going to cause some flooding risk. I see eastern Pennsylvania there and also portions of New England as the 2 biggest areas I'm expecting to potentially see some flooding going on. Here's our total snowfall map, forecast map from Direct Weather. And if you're anywhere in the whites, we're taking a look at about a dusting to 3 inches of snow. And if you're anywhere in those lighter blues, we're at about 3 to 6 inches of snow. If you're anywhere in those darker blues, which we can see there's plenty of those, we can see some for the upper Midwest there, some for Michigan there from the lakes, some for Ohio, Pennsylvania, and New York there from the lakes, 2 separate regions in New York, and then even the mountains of West Virginia where I expect them to just a little bit overperform compared to the surrounding regions. They typically do that. That's where we're expecting 6 to 10 inches of snow for all those regions. And then in those kind of magenta or pink shades, that's where we're expecting 10 to 15 inches of snow. So Minnesota, northern Wisconsin, portions of the upper peninsula of Michigan there. And then there's a little bit of that there for Ohio, Pennsylvania, and New York, where I think the lakes are going to allow for those 10 to 15 inch amounts to occur. Anyway, I want you guys to really stay safe during these extreme situations, during this very, very extreme storm. We have tons of implications. I mean, severe weather, damaging wind, flooding, snowfall, ice. This storm is just very well rounded and is giving us threats on pretty much all cylinders. Very major situation we have on our hands here, especially during Christmas travel. I mean, it's just an absolute mess. Anyway, for today's comment of the day, I asked you guys, do you think we will have a slight risk of severe weather, or do you think we can get even more, like an enhanced? And Weather at a Glance said, I would stick with the slight risk for now, but I think there is a chance for an enhanced risk due to that crazy shear that is shown for Christmas Eve. Definitely somebody's been doing their homework there, and they're seeing what I'm seeing. I think an enhanced risk is possible, but not likely at this point. Anyway, for today's patron highlight of the day, I want to thank you all for supporting our channel, but especially our platinum patrons: Sebastian Tao, John Bembenek, Justin Quantrell, James Wade, Dovie Nagel, Alan Belemo, Adam S., Larry Lepan, Donna Carnes, Cameron Marshall, and Aiden Mattis, alongside our diamond patrons: Bill Roberts, Alan Sherry, Marcus Connolly, Noah Harley, Michael Codalessa, Michael Buell, Terry Curtis, Cat Bite, Charles Stinnett, Kellen Manhart, It's Jay, Cindy Klein, Alicia Davis, and Mark J. If you would like to be on this Patreon end screen, you can do so by joining our very exciting Patreon page in the description and the pinned comment down below. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Again, be sure to share it with your friends, family, and social media. I will see you guys in the next video.